Talk to me about this fight. Obviously, a big opportunity for you in your career. Co-main event, guy like Edson Barboza. Must be pretty exciting for you as somebody that's probably watched Edson for a while as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to see you, brother.
Yeah.
This is, I know it's cliche. Everyone's like, oh, this is the biggest fight of my career, but this is easily the toughest opponent I've ever fought. This is the biggest fight of my career. This fight has the potential to do the most for my career, get me to that next level, get me even bigger names down the road, that top 15 ranking. So obviously I'm super excited about this one.
Yeah, and you've obviously, you've moved more forward than backward, but you've taken some, losses, some wins. Is this encouraging, though, when you look up and you see yourself, next to a guy like Edson Barboza in a co-main event slot, like, hey, I'm moving in the right direction?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things that after my last fight against Alex Hernandez, I never overlook anyone. So I didn't even know who it was going to be next. And I remember we were talking to the media and someone mentioned Edson Barboza. And I was like, oh, man, that'd be a great fight. Next thing you know, I'm calling him out. And next thing you know, here we are. I'm fighting him co-main event, UFC, big card, Kansas City, on a Max Holloway card who I've been following my whole career. So, it's just a huge opportunity, and I'm going to make the most of it. Any
extra added, nerves or pressure fighting a guy like him? I know Justin Gaethje said recently, he was the only guy that he was really afraid to fight.
It's definitely intimidating watching his highlight reel, and it's a highlight reel that I've watched as a fan, watching him just knock people out and cheering for that and being excited about an Edson Barboza fight, watching him kick people, knee people, finish people in all these different ways. I don't know if there's any extra, nervousness. It's a UFC fight. It's a huge fight for me. So I think it's all kind of the same. It's all, no matter who I'm stepping in there with, there's always going to be some nerves. There's going to be some excitement, and there's obviously a huge risk, but even a bigger risk going against Edson.
Yeah, and the leg kicks, I think, are something that he's known for. Sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't. Did you have to make a lot of adjustments in training to kind of prepare for those?
Yeah, it's something we've definitely focused on. Obviously, he's a very good kicker. And if you watch my Shane Burgos fight, he kicked me a lot. So I'm assuming he's going to go back to that. A big difference is, though, I wasn't really expecting Burgos to leg kick me like that. I was expecting more of a boxing match where we're expecting everything this fight. We're expecting him to leg kick me. We're expecting him to try to wrestle with me. We're expecting everything. So we're well prepared for this fight. I'm with my same team I've been with since day one, and we drew up a really good game plan for him.
That's great. And where do you think a win puts you over a guy like Edson Barboza?
I think it's going to be massive. It's going to be a massive fight. I think I've talked to many people who are just casual fans that don't really know too many names. But I mentioned Edson Barboza, and they're like, oh yeah, I've seen him do this, or I've seen him do that. So I think it's going to put my name up there with, more mainstream, with a lot more casual fans, being the co-main event. If I can go out there and get a huge finish, which that's what I'm looking to do, it puts me into that next level of UFC fighter where I always joke about when there's that row of UFC fighters, and they're they go by the row, and it's I know this guy, this guy, this guy. Hopefully I can get invited to that row after this fight, and that's where it puts me.
Gotcha. Thanks, man.
Appreciate it, brother.
Billy Q.
What's up, Alex? How are you?
Good. How's dad life?
Oh, dad life's great, man. This is, I had my baby by myself all Easter Sunday when I was cutting weight, and I was like, oh man, this is, it's intense, man. It added a whole new dynamic to fight camps, and it makes things a lot easier to wake up super early and train and do the extra sessions. Not only am I fighting a super talented, legendary fighter like Barboza, but now I got a lot more on my plate now.
Fighters say once they have a kid, they have way more to fight for, right? Is that the same feeling for you?
Yeah, absolutely. It becomes more of, I'm not just doing this for me anymore. Now it's for my family. I got a child to feed. I don't want him to turn out oh man, watching all these old highlight reels of his dad getting beat up and not making it big like I wanted to. And I know Edson's a father too, and I'm sure that's motivating for him. I saw a clip of him talking about how his kids are motivating for him. So it's just two dads going at it in the co-main event and trying to provide for our families.
Last week you weren't the co-main event, and I think everybody on the planet were like, what the hell? And you quickly got moved to the co-main event. Do you think that's just people know this fight is amazing?
Yeah, I think it's the co-main event for a reason. And that was really interesting because when I first signed the contract, my manager told me, Edson Barboza, co-main event, this is that, this is this. And I was like, all right, great. And then the UFC came out and they did all this behind the scenes footage. And then it came out that I wasn't on the co-main event. I think there was a mix-up in there. But the more I thought about it, the money wasn't going to change, so I was excited either way. The matchup wasn't going to get easier because I wasn't going to be the co-main event. I knew what I was in for. So I would have been – they could have put me on the first fight. They know Billy Q. Edson Barboza is going to put on a show.
How's the OnlyFans business going?
What's that?
How's the OnlyFans?
Oh, yeah. My OnlyFans. Yeah, subscribe to my OnlyFans. If you guys don't know, it's an athlete page. I like to mention it's an athlete page. I'm not doing anything, weird or anything like that. It's all just, basically me hitting mitts and me doing my MMA, jiu-jitsu, stuff like that.
What's your prediction for the main event, Max Holloway versus Arnold Allen?
Man, I've been going back and forth with this one. I've been a fan of Max Holloway as long as he's been, on the big scene. So I've been a fan of him for a long time, and I'm seeing a lot of. I know he's the favorite in this fight, and I'm seeing that. I think a lot of people are kind of counting out Arnold Allen. So I'm not really going to pick, but I picked Max Holloway earlier, but I could see this fight really going either way. And it's whoever shows up, whoever had a better training camp, which we obviously didn't get to see. So it's going to be a great fight. I think it's going to be closer than people think because Arnold Allen is a stud. 10-0 in the UFC, that's not easy to do.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Appreciate you, man.
Billy over here, from Kansas City. So just wanted to ask you about your initial impressions of a city that hasn't seen too many UFC events come here. Just what would you tell people to describe, how a UFC event is for those that are trying to come probably for the first time?
Yeah, well, first let me say Kansas City, beautiful city. We've been driving around and doing some sightseeing. We met a guy in the sauna the other day, and he was super. He's like, I'm going to buy tickets to the UFC. I didn't even know you guys were coming here. I will say I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, so Kansas City's our rivalry. So I'm taking Josh Allen over Mahomes all day. So there's still
I won't put that on.
But. Yeah, there's still a bit of a rivalry there, and I can't let that go. But they're going to expect fireworks. They not only are we coming to Kansas City for the first time in a while, but they put a great card together. This whole card's stacked. You got veterans like Clay Guida. You got Edson Barboza. He's a huge name. You got Billy Q, who always brings the excitement. And then, of course, the main event, Max Holloway, is one of the most exciting fighters in the world. Arnold Allen is going to become a huge name if he can get this win on Saturday. So there's a lot at stake at this UFC card. So they didn't just put together a random card. It's a really good card, and I think the people of Kansas City are in for a treat.
You mentioned your form is, kind of win-loss, but so is, Edson. So when you come into a fight like this, there's much more on the line in every fight, but there's a lot more in this considering both of you guys are kind of at that teetering point where it's like this is kind of make or break at your last push here?
Yeah, I don't think it's anywhere near the last push for me. I got a lot more fights in me. With Edson, the thing is he's taken a lot more losses than me recently, but he's also his resume speaks for itself. He's fought Khabib, Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje, Paul Felder. His name is the names that he fought are much bigger than the names that I fought, but. It doesn't matter on Saturday. I'm going to go in there with the confidence that I have. I'm coming off a huge win. I just beat Alex Hernandez, who's a very tough fighter. He just got a win over Jim Miller. So that gave me a little more confidence that, you beat a really good guy. And I think going into this fight, I think every fight in the UFC feels like it's make or break. We're only going to have so many fights, and if you start losing, you're going to probably get cut eventually. So it's always a make or break fight for me. Fighting a legend adds a little bit more pressure, but I'm excited for it.
Thanks, bud.
Thank you.
Billy, I got a question in the back over here.
Of course.
So who is your favorite person to punch in the face and why?
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's an easy one. It's got to be Matt the Steamroller Favola. Easily, like my longtime teammate. Been training with him for a very long time. And he always comes out for me fight week. Positive vibes only this fight camp. And we're going to go in there Saturday and handle business.
Thank you, Billy.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.